Did you know that, according to studies published in renowned scientific journals such as the American Journal of Hypertension and the European Heart Journal, the risk of suffering a heart attack is about 40% higher in the morning? Health statistics reveal that the vast majority of these cardiovascular events occur specifically within the danger window that extends between 6 in the morning and noon, with an alarming number of cases happening right in our bathrooms. Given these impactful data, we need to ask ourselves, why does our body become so vulnerable the moment we open our eyes to a new day? What is the invisible trigger hidden in our seemingly harmless morning routine that can silently overload our hearts? Leave your comment below if you've heard about this morning risk window, and feel free to like and share this video with your friends to help us spread this vital prevention information. Stay with me and pay close attention to this conversation, because you're about to discover what happens inside your arteries in the first few minutes after waking up, and how science teaches us to protect our most precious asset. Paper and pen in hand, let's continue our conversation. To understand this phenomenon clearly, we need to look at the perfect, yet extremely complex way our biology works as soon as the sun rises and our internal biological clock awakens. During the early morning hours, our body enters a deep and restorative state of conservation, where the core temperature drops, the respiratory rate slows, and the heart beats very gently and rhythmically to conserve energy. However, the act of waking up is not a smooth and gradual process for our autonomic nervous system, but rather a true ignition shock that demands a lot of immediate energy from all our cells. For you to simply open your eyes, throw off the covers, and have the energy to get out of bed, your brain commands a massive and sudden release of hormones into the bloodstream. The main one is cortisol, widely known in the health field as the stress hormone, which is accompanied by a potent surge of adrenaline and noradrenaline. This morning hormonal flood is completely natural and necessary to ensure our state of alertness and survival, but it acts as a real accelerator in our cardiovascular system in the first hours of the day. The key point to note is that these morning hormones cause our blood vessels to constrict and stiffen rapidly, increasing the resistance the heart muscle must overcome to pump blood. As a direct result of this morning stiffness, there's a natural and sharp spike in blood pressure in the first moments of the morning, requiring a monumental effort from a heart that was at deep rest just seconds before. Beyond this veritable hormonal and vascular roller coaster, there is another silent and dangerous factor that contributes to making mornings so challenging for our circulation: severe overnight dehydration. Consider that you have just spent about 7 to 8 hours sleeping deeply without ingesting a single drop of water, which naturally causes the volume of fluids in your body to decrease considerably. When we are dehydrated upon waking, our blood becomes much thicker and more viscous than normal, and the platelets, which are the cells responsible for clotting, become incredibly active and sticky, ready to clump together within the vessels. This physiological scenario creates what experts call a perfect storm in our arteries. Blood vessels constricted by cortisol, high blood pressure, and thick blood circulating with extreme difficulty. To illustrate how these complex mechanisms work in real life, let's analyze the routine of a fictional patient in our illustrative case study named William, a 59-year-old man with habits that many would consider normal. William had a habit of setting his alarm clock to an extremely loud and shrill sound so as not to oversleep. And as soon as the alarm rang, he would jump out of bed almost in a startled state, running to the bathroom. What William was completely unaware of was that this abrupt awakening, combined with the immediate sensory stress, caused a brutal spike in cortisol in his body, forcing his vulnerable heart to move from rest to maximum effort. By understanding the science behind the danger window and the workings of his own body, he learned that he urgently needed to modify his sleep-wake transition to protect his arteries in the long term. William understood that adopting a slower, calmer, and more conscious awakening is a fundamental habit that helps prevent unnecessary cardiovascular stress and aids in the safe control of blood pressure during daily activities. In addition to transforming his waking routine, he discovered the importance of understanding what happens behind closed doors when we use the bathroom in the early morning hours, one of the environments with the highest rates of emergencies. When our bodies are already fighting against thicker blood and high blood pressure due to hormones, any extra physical exertion can overload the heart. In the bathroom, one of the biggest culprits is a mechanical effort known in medicine as the Valsalva maneuver, which is precisely that instinctive movement of holding your breath and straining, something that frequently happens during bowel movements. When we hold our breath and forcefully contract our abdominal muscles, the pressure inside our thoracic cavity instantly increases, compressing our large veins and temporarily preventing blood from returning properly to the heart. The moment a person finally relaxes and releases their held breath, all the blood that was trapped in the body rushes back suddenly and devastatingly towards the heart muscle. This violent return of blood flow creates a sudden pressure shock that hits the coronary arteries hard. And if that person already has stiffer arteries or blockages, this can be the final trigger for rupturing a fatty plaque. Understanding these internal mechanisms is not a reason for panic, but rather a powerful tool for awareness and vital self-care. because correct and scientifically based knowledge alleviates symptoms of anxiety regarding our own health and empowers us. That is precisely why investigating morning habits becomes a non-negotiable priority for those who wish to achieve true longevity and protect their heart health against these invisible risks of our hectic daily lives. To neutralize this morning danger zone and protect your cardiovascular system, the first action science recommends is to combat the severe dehydration that thickens our blood during the early morning hours. Drinking a large glass of room temperature water within the first few minutes of opening your eyes is one of the simplest and most powerful strategies to help control blood viscosity and deeply hydrate cells. When we replenish our body's fluid volume immediately upon waking, we help dilute that thick, sticky blood that was overloading our heart's pumping work. This intelligent and early hydration greatly facilitates circulation through the coronary arteries and reduces vascular resistance, ensuring that oxygen flows freely to all vital tissues without requiring extreme effort from the heart muscle early in the morning. Furthermore, water consumed on an empty stomach gently stimulates the gastrointestinal tract, preparing the body for natural functioning, and helping to prevent the need for intense mechanical efforts when using the bathroom later. Another fundamental habit for protecting your arteries involves the very mechanics of getting out of bed, which should never be done abruptly or hastily, as if you were fleeing from imminent danger. Our circulatory system needs precious time to recalibrate pressure and overcome gravity when we move from a lying to a standing position. A fascinating adaptation process that doctors call the baroreceptor reflex. If you jump out of bed quickly, blood rushes suddenly to the legs, the brain perceives the drop in oxygenation, and the heart desperately accelerates to compensate for this failure, generating absurd stress on the entire system. Ideally, stretch your body slowly while still under the covers, sit on the edge of the bed for about 1 to 2 minutes, breathing deeply, and only then stand up with complete calm and confidence. This phase transition is vital because it gives time for the veins to contract gently and the pressure to stabilize, which helps prevent dangerous dizziness and immensely relieves the heavy workload on your cardiovascular system. To understand the transformative impact of these small habit changes, we can look at the example of Sarah, a 62-year-old teacher who used to suffer from severe palpitations and extreme fatigue in the early hours of the day. Sarah had a habit of always waking up late, jumping out of bed with a start, and going straight to a very hot shower, in addition to suffering from slow bowel movements that forced her to strain a lot in the bathroom every day. When she understood the dangers of morning physical exertion associated with the natural cortisol peak, she decided to completely change her routine to protect her heart from unnecessary and extremely silent wear and tear. She started waking up 15 minutes earlier, sitting calmly on the bed to drink her water, and included a considerable amount of fiber in her diet to regulate her bowels in a completely natural way. With these simple adaptations, Sarah's trips to the bathroom ceased to be moments of tension and dangerous effort, completely eliminating the dreaded Valsalva maneuver from her routine and bringing an enormous sense of security and continuous well-being. This issue of straining in the bathroom leads us to a crucial point of attention and prevention, as keeping the bowels functioning like clockwork is a true protective measure against unexpected cardiovascular events in the morning. The extreme effort to defecate, added to the instinctive act of holding our breath, creates that violent chest pressure we've already discussed, but which can be completely avoided with a well-hydrated and nourished body with the right foods. Consuming foods rich in water and soft fiber helps form a healthy stool, which aids in controlling intestinal transit and allows for a fluid and natural evacuation without requiring any abdominal force whatsoever. Furthermore, it is very important to pay attention to the temperature of the shower water in the early morning hours, as excessively cold or excessively hot water causes a violent thermal shock to our still vulnerable bodies. Showers with extreme temperatures trigger new adrenaline spikes and cause blood vessels to constrict even more, while a warm and comfortable shower helps to relax muscles safely, slightly dilates peripheral veins, and relieves symptoms of muscle tension. To wrap up our conversation today on a high note, I want to share my expert tip with you, which I affectionately call the 3-minute morning rule. This is an incredibly simple technique, yet deeply rooted in our body's physiology, that helps control blood pressure safely in the first moments of your day. When you open your eyes, instead of jumping out of bed, dedicate the first minute to simply breathing deeply and stretching your muscles while still lying down, signaling to your brain that waking up is happening peacefully. In the second minute, sit on the edge of the bed, gently placing your feet on the floor, allowing your circulatory system to adjust to gravity and blood to flow without overloading your heart. Finally, in the third minute, you will get up very slowly and walk calmly to drink that generous glass of room temperature water we talked about earlier. This small 3-minute window of calm transition helps prevent the hormonal shock of cortisol and adrenaline, ensuring that your arteries remain relaxed and ready to work. In addition to intelligently protecting your cardiovascular system, applying this rule daily alleviates symptoms of morning anxiety and those dangerous dizzinesses, providing a much more centered start to the day. Try putting this golden tip into practice starting tomorrow and feel the difference that respecting your own biological clock can make for the long-term protection of your heart. Finally, we need to talk about the vital importance of controlling mental stress right after waking up, which is one of the biggest and most common triggers for the excessive release of cortisol and increased heart rate at the start of the day. Avoid picking up your cell phone to read alarming news, check work emails, or access busy social media in the first 30 minutes of your morning, as this information overload puts your brain in maximum alert and defensive mode. Instead, open your bedroom window, let the natural sunlight in, and breathe the fresh air deeply and consciously, as morning sunlight helps regulate our biological clock in an incredibly healthy way and signals to the body that the day has begun peacefully. I am Robert Torniere, an educator and researcher passionately dedicated to the areas of prevention and longevity, and my main goal here is to translate complex science into accessible, honest, and highly reliable language for you and your family. All of our content undergoes a rigorous research filter to bring you only scientifically based information. But always remember that this video is purely educational and does not replace consultation and regular follow-up with your trusted doctor. Thank you very much for dedicating your valuable time to learning how to better care for your health today. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I wish you an excellent day. Warm regards.